Namo Amida Butsu. I wanted to share with you something that I read this morning, posted by Josho Adrian Cirlea on his WVK blog. It talks about saying the name of Amida Buddha. And he goes, and I'll read it. When you say the name, just say the name. No matter if you feel good or bad. If you are calm or have an agitated mind, just say the name. When you say this name, you do not take refuge in your own mind, in the thoughts that appear in it, in your feelings or ideas, but in Amida Buddha who is outside your mind. Why bother with having the best attitude of mind when you say the name? Sorry about that. Okay, get that out of the way. Why bother with having the best attitude of mind when you say the name? This name does not belong to you, and its power is the power of Amida Buddha. So you cannot improve it or damage it by anything that can be found in your mind. I am telling you all these things repeatedly and in many letters so that you do not have any fear that somehow something that exists in your mind can be an obstacle to the saving activity of Amida Buddha. If you simply entrust yourself to Amida, and saying his name means exactly this, that you entrust yourself to him, you are saved just as you are, and no matter what happens to you or with your mind while you are still in this illusory body, your birth in the Pure Land is safe, and you will surely go there at the end of this present life. Again, please do not busy yourself with your unpredictable mind. Do not worry about it. It is normal for an ordinary, unenlightened person like you to have an unstable mind. And the saving activity of Amida Buddha is especially directed to such people. You just say the Nembutsu of faith and relax. Yes, you can relax because your salvation and birth in the Pure Land does not depend on you, but on Amida's power. This is exactly why you say his name. Namo Amida Bu. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Bu, Namo Amida Bu. You rely on him, not on yourself. This is the true Nimbutsu, the Nimbutsu of faith. Namo Amida Butsu. And this is an excerpt from Josho Adrian's book, The Meaning of Faith and Nimbutsu in Jodo Shinshu. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I'm basically a good person, but in terms of who I am as an individual, my emotional stability, I am anything but perfect. I'm a crappy Buddhist at best. And what makes me a good Buddhist is not my practice or what I do or what I say. It's my faith in Amida Buddha, which comes from Amida Buddha, which comes from saying the name of Amida Buddha, which comes from entrusting myself and my karmic destiny to Amida Buddha. It has nothing to do with me. And reading that this morning, there's sometimes when you read something and it speaks directly to your heart. It's like, yes, this is what I'm going through right now. And I want to be honest with you. I haven't been to work in 3 months, and I'm going to be starting work later on this week. And I'm not looking forward to it. I mean, I love my job. I love serving others. But this has been like a 3-month spiritual retreat for me. The ability to sit in front of the altar at will, to go for long walks. Okay, I had to wear a mask, but other than that, I've been praying for some time alone with Amida Buddha, and I got it. So I can't really complain. Excuse me. But that being said, later on this week, I have to go and deal with the general public in whatever capacity I'm allowed to deal with the general public. I have to deal with coworkers. I have to deal with people. Now, I haven't been isolated. I haven't been in an underground bunker or anything. But it's been like a spiritual retreat for me. And it's been very good for me emotionally and psychologically to get away from people and to be with Amida. It doesn't mean I've spent every moment of every day in front of the altar or reading the Dharma. No, I've watched Mystery Science Theater 3000 movies on YouTube. I've listened to music. I've gone for walks. But overall, this has been a spiritual retreat for me. And, you know, it's I would like to say that since receiving Shinjin, I have grown into this phenomenally calm, wonderful, forgiving, loving human being who really desperately loves people and cares about people. I've taken the Bodhisattva vow. But in terms of, I've also taken the precepts. In terms of following them, in terms of feeling that compassion and love toward my fellow humanity, I'm very lacking. Now, I serve the public and I do my job, and I can honestly say, whether I'm on the bus, whether I'm at work, whether I'm off work, I do make a concerted effort to be polite and caring toward all my fellow human beings. But anyone who's dealt with human beings knows we are a flawed and broken species. And a lot of us humans like conflict. A lot of us humans are pathologically addicted to creating drama at home, at work, in the supermarket, on the streets, in the bus, on the bus. I don't do drama. As I've said before, I grew up in drama. I was immersed against my will in drama. And I am not looking forward to having to deal with drama. This is why I'm a Jodo Shinshu Buddhist. I have given up on the idea that one day I will, through my own efforts in this Saha realm, be able to attain to an enlightened state. I've given up on that. And at this point, I've given up on ever fixing myself, either emotionally or psychologically. That's not my job. It's not even my concern at this point. I was talking with Josho after reading this quote that I just gave from his blog on VK. And his advice to me is just live your life. Just say Nembutsu as you are. I remember when I think it was Shandao was the first form of Pure Land Buddhism I began practicing years ago. And it was very self-practice. And I remember the instruction pamphlet I had that I had found in the vegetarian buffet. It said, okay, you have to be spotlessly clean when you go before the altar. You have to be in a clean room. Everything, all the conditions have to be perfect. And you have to have the right state of mind before you sit before the altar. Well, it didn't take me very long to come to the conclusion I'm not capable of the right state of mind. Very rarely, if ever, do I have the right state of mind. I have moments. I have moments where and I've talked about them on this channel, when I'm walking in nature, usually on a beautiful day like today. I'll probably take a walk later on. But it's in times like those that I'm able to have some sense of moments of spiritual clarity and connection with Amida. But I grew up in a very abusive home. I grew up in chaos. That chaos has damaged me permanently. That chaos has branded me. It's branded my mind. It's branded my emotions. It didn't incapacitate me in terms of earning a living, interacting with people, being compassionate toward people, being kind and polite toward people. But I could never go back at this point to being a self-power practiced Buddhist. I could never, for instance, go back to being a disciple of Zen. Because I know my mind oh too well. I know what goes on in my mind. I know what goes on in my heart. I know how tumultuous my emotions are at any given moment in time. The chaos of my thoughts and emotions at times are mind-numbing, if not overwhelming. And I think a lot of people are going through this, especially during this time. When this mental, emotional garbage soup envelops our minds and our emotions and makes us afraid. What's going to happen? What is tomorrow going to hold? How am I going to pay my bills? What if the government collapses? What if we go into a Great Depression? You know, there's nothing I can do about that. There's nothing I can change about that. And unfortunately, now that I've grown further along in my relationship with Amida Buddha, I have to be honest that there's very little, if anything, I can do about my own emotional and mental stability. And that's why this passage I read to you from Josho Adrian, it is so powerful to me. And it spoke directly to my heart. Because if we wait around until we have a clear, pure Buddhist state of mind before we say Nimbutsu, we'll never say it, or we'll hardly ever say it. I will certainly never say it, because there are very few moments in my life when my mind is not in chaos, when my emotions are not stirred up. Now, granted, I didn't lie when I say as I grow older, I become calmer because of my relationship with Amida Buddha. And that's the truth. But to say that that means I am a calm, emotionally stable person now that I found Amida Buddha. That's not how it works. I'm stuck in the Saha realm. I'm Dave. And Dave comes from a very crazy place. Dave comes from a very insane, violent, tumultuous past and upbringing. You know, that upbringing has left a lasting impression on my psyche, on how I perceive those around me, on how I perceive the world around me. And that's most of us. This is why I worship Amida Buddha. This is why I value other power Buddhism. Because my power is insufficient at its best. My power is lacking at its best. His power is never lacking. His power is the best. And by entrusting myself to him instead of to my ability to be a good Buddhist, I actually am able to cling on to something real. My efforts, my so-called spiritual evolution toward enlightenment is watered down, fleeting. It's like taking toilet paper and dipping it in a sink full of water. That's what I equate my spiritual prowess and abilities to be like. That's why I turn to a power outside myself for spiritual strength. That is the power, Amida Buddha. I would not have been able to make it through this period without Amida Buddha. Amida Buddha is the reason I have enjoyed this time off. Amida Buddha is the one I turn to with my doubts and my overwhelming fears. Amida Buddha is someone I can cry out to regardless of what is going on inside of my emotions or inside of my mind. Amida Buddha doesn't require me to have pure, pristine, Buddhist-like thoughts in order to turn to him. I turn to Amida in the midst of being Dave. I turn to Amida Buddha in the midst of the chaos that tends to be Dave at any given point in time. I turn to Amida because I turn to Amida, because Amida Buddha is my strength. I say the name not because I have any power to wield the name of Amida Buddha, but because saying the name of Amida Buddha enables me to entrust myself and my karmic destiny to Amida Buddha. Saying the name of Amida Buddha, even though my mind and emotions may be in complete, total chaos, even though my thoughts may be filled with resentment and hate and rage and judgment and unforgiveness. You see, in my old form of Buddhism, I was taught you had to clear all that out before you could come before the altar of Amida. You had to have a calm demeanor and mindset before you could say the name of Amida Buddha. I know that that's a pointless venture. I know that that wouldn't do any good for me, and I would soon grow weary of that and just not even try. How thankful I am that the reason Amida Buddha came into the world was for people like me. People born and raised in chaos. People scarred by the situations they've gone through in life. You know, I hear these people that say, oh, I've forgiven everyone that ever hurt me. I can't. There are some people I have forgiven. There's some people I hate. There's some people I'll never forgive. And some people I may forgive way down the line. I'm a crappy Buddhist. He's not a crappy Buddha. See, if I'm relying on my ability to be a good Buddhist in order to find peace and tranquility in this life, I'm screwed. I can't do it. He's there for me. He came and created his pure land for people like me, people like Dave, people who can't do it, people who, when they sit down and do zazen, quiet meditation, all they do is swim around in thoughts of resentment and rage and anger and discomfort and distraction. How blessed and lucky I am that I can say the name of Amida Buddha in the midst of these thoughts, in the midst of these feelings, in the midst of not only discomfort, but rage, hate, agony, unforgiveness, anger, disgust. I think a lot of us are feeling that right now for various reasons. In various parts of our lives. And all we want to do is be happy. Now, I'd like to say that saying the name of Amida Buddha will bring you instant happiness. It hasn't done that for me, but it has connected me to Amida Buddha. And that's all I need. As I said before, this time has been a spiritual retreat for me. It has been a way to get away from the general public and to turn toward Amitabha Buddha. But that being said, it's me turning away from the public and turning toward Amitabha Buddha. My best attempts at Buddhism are crap at best. That's why I put my faith in the enlightened Buddha Amitabha, the Buddha of light. And so I say, no matter what you're going through, no matter how terrified, afraid, worried, anxiety-ridden, no matter what you're going through right now, in the midst of this, Amitabha Buddha is here for you now. In the midst of this, no more does Buddhism mean for me having to be all well-dressed and on my best behavior, with my best thoughts, in a calm, tranquil mind. Honestly, guys, I don't know that many people in this day and age that can accomplish that. Given the present circumstances, I think it's very, very few people that can get there. How lucky and blessed we are to have the grace and love of the Buddha of infinite light and life, Amitabha. The Buddha of infinite life, of infinite light, who created a pure land of ultimate bliss and peace for people like us who need help. And he is here for us. I had a friend ask me not so long ago, is it okay for me to petition Amitabha Buddha? Is it okay for me to just pray to Amitabha Buddha? I said, of course. Now, and I went on to explain, at this point in my life, in my relationship with Amitabha Buddha, it's very different from what I had with Jesus. With Jesus, I was constantly having to petition him and word my situation. My faith in Amitabha Buddha now is such that I realize it's always in the forefront of my mind. Amitabha Buddha knows what I feel better than I do. He knows the reasons for what I'm going through, karmically, emotionally, psychologically, better than I ever could, ever better than any therapist could. Amida knows the past, the present, and the future simultaneously. I don't. I do well enough to live moment by moment. And sometimes I don't do that well. How great it is to have Amitabha Buddha in my life. So, to all of you, brothers and sisters, I say, don't lose heart. Whatever you're going through, even if you're a basket case, even if you're a ball of knots, even if you're a train wreck right now, that's why Amitabha created the primal vow. That vow enables us to simply entrust ourselves to him, say his name in faith, and wish to be reborn in his pure land. And though during this time here on earth, we're not going to have perfection, still, in the midst of our imperfection, we have Amitabha. He is there for us. He is truly the greatest Savior. He is the most powerful Buddha. He is infinite light and infinite life. Say his name. And forgive yourself for being human. That's some other advice Josho gave me. Good advice. Stop trying to make yourself perfect. Because that's an endless game. You can't win. You're not perfect and you're not going to be in the Saha realm. Because whatever perfection you achieve, how high up on the spiritual ladder you get, there's always going to be this one little fly, one little speck that's going to knock you off the ladder. And when I've been knocked off the ladder, I sometimes just sit in the presence of Amitabha Buddha. And then as his name rises up within me, I say it, even though I'm imperfect, even though I'm flawed, I say his name. Namo Amirabu, Namo Amirabu, Namo Amirabu. Because his name comes from him, not from me. And it would be very presumptuous of me to assume that I could add to or subtract from the perfection of the name of Amitabha Buddha. The only thing perfect in my life is Amitabha Buddha and his name, none of which come from me. I love you. Namo Amida Butsu. Have a great day, guys. Take care.